So the women who hate men the most often have had little to no experience with a man. I find that women who have the most man hatred either haven't been around a man for a long time, haven't had a solid father figure in their lives, or have just formed their opinions on nothing but bad experiences with men romantically. They typically don't have any guy friends, or if they do, those guy friends just tell them, oh yeah, you're allowed to think what you want to think, and don't actually defend themselves. So I'm excited to read today's 4chan diary. Hey, it's Christine Grace. Welcome back to my channel. Today is another reaction video. We're reacting yet again to the 4chan diaries, which I know you guys absolutely love. So let's get straight into it together.
Be me, 25, grad student, sociology program. I've been told my whole life that men are dangerous, and honestly, my own experiences never gave me a reason to doubt it. It started with my mom, single mother, raising me alone after my dad left when I was barely 5. Every fight they had before the divorce, she framed as proof. Men lie, men cheat, men run. She'd always say, never depend on a man, they'll let you down every time. That was her mantra, and then my own dating history just poured gasoline on that fire. My first boyfriend in college cheated on me with some random from his dorm, and I only found out because her underwear got mixed up with my laundry one weekend.
It's always the way. It's always this pattern that seems to continue. You know, single mothers, they have all this hatred towards men. They form their experience to be, you know, the archetype of man is their previous lover. It takes, yeah, it's very rare that single mothers will be able to raise daughters that aren't also man-hating, and we all know how awful the statistics are for men that are raised by single mothers. Of course, there is an exception to every rule. Brett Cooper, who is obviously, she's younger than me, I believe. I think she's about a year younger than me. She must be 23, 24. She was raised by a single mother. And, you know, she's young, she's married, she's just had her first baby. But it takes a certain type of woman to be able to not let feminism and man-hating take over when having a bad experience with a man. I don't know the story with Brett Cooper's mother. I don't know her story at all, but I am much more aware that her mother was in her life rather than her father. But yeah, beside the point, majority of the time, it's not going to end well, especially not when we live in a culture where it's very much acceptable to become man-hating.
Second one was the stereotypical nice guy who blew up at me after 2 months because I wasn't putting out fast enough. Third one ghosted me after 3 months. The pattern was so clear it was basically a punchline. Men were predators or selfish manipulators. They just wore different costumes. So when I got...
What kind of life that must be like, to be able to live in a world that is so simple that you can just put a whole species, a whole half a species into one category. How boring and how grey your life must be to be so, you know, deprived of any colour. You know, I don't mean race. I mean, you know, to be able to identify everyone and think you know who everyone is, and this person's this and this person's that, and just judging every single book by its cover. You deprive yourself of any surprise in life. You deprive yourself of any real experience. You deprive yourself of being able to look in another human being's eyes and see yourself. You know, you deprive yourself of the experience of being human. To live in a world of categories and commercialism and commodities, it's utterly boring.
My grad housing assignment email saying I'd be rooming with a man? Yeah. No. My heart sank. I immediately called housing, told them there had to be a mistake. But no. Housing shortage, too many grad students, gender separation rules don't apply.
Yeah, I thought that's what you guys wanted.
I begged, even offered to pay extra. They said there was nothing they could do. So I told myself it'd only be temporary. A month or 2 max. I just had to survive it. Keep my door locked, keep my guard up, avoid him at all costs.
Straight into it with an awful mindset.
The first time I met him, I was already in defensive mode. He introduced himself in this calm, low voice. Hey, I'm Ethan. He had this way of talking, straightforward, no forced friendliness, no eye contact that lingered too long. Still, in my head, alarm bells were blaring. I'd read enough horror stories about quiet guys being the most dangerous. Ted Bundy was charming. Jeffrey Dahmer was quiet. I wasn't going to be fooled.
Her first thing in her mind is serial killer. What?
Made sure to set boundaries right away. I claimed the bigger cupboard in the kitchen, labelled every grocery item with post-its, not yours, and taped a note on the bathroom mirror. Please respect.
She seems delightful. She seems absolutely delightful.
Shared spaces. I wanted him to know I wasn't one of those clueless girls who let men walk all over them.
Nice.
He didn't comment. He just glanced at the note once while brushing his teeth, shrugged, and kept going. That was unsettling. Was it indifference or calculation? Like he was making mental notes for later? That first night?
No, it was acceptance, and he's certainly not thinking about you anywhere near as much as you're thinking about him.
I was paranoid as hell. I double-locked my door, shoved a chair under the handle, and sat in bed listening. Every creak in the hallway made my chest tighten. My brain spun scenarios.
Do you think she ever had the wild revelation that if she actually talked to this guy and got to know him as a human being, that maybe she would be able to not see him as this scary monster? Does she understand that the reason she is sat there scared is because of her own doing? Because she's already categorized this man as a monster, instead of getting to know him and trying to see some humanity, some sweetness, some kindness in him. She wouldn't be sat there scared in her bed if she'd had a prior conversation with him and built some form of connection. Some kind of friendship, some kind of, hey, we live together. Let's figure out how we're going to do that. She's done this to herself. She's made herself scared because she's decided he's a monster without actually figuring out if it's true. Women love delusions. We love them.
What if he tried to come in? What if he drugged my food? What if he just waited until I let my guard down? But morning came. My
I don't understand how you can want to live like that.
door was untouched. When I peeked out, Ethan was already gone for class.
If there was any kind of inclination or evidence that this man might be that way inclined, I would say, you've got to deal with reality as you take it. But there is nothing of the sort. Nothing. Look, I am not telling you to live in utter delusion. If you're in a bad situation where, a guy is clearly exhibiting things that actually are dangerous, like you are actually in a dangerous situation, get yourself out of it. But the fact that she sat there in her room being scared, instead of actually doing anything about it, kind of proves my point that she's done this to herself and she's just creating a story in her mind, maybe for excitement. Who knows with these women? I can hear, who is it? The guy who used to play James Bond. I can hear him laughing in my head. But yeah, you've got to take immediate action. You've got to look at every moment as it is. You've got to be entirely present. And if there's nothing in that moment that is presenting any kind of real danger, sitting there and creating mind-made danger is only doing bad by you. Because there's no preparation you can do for danger. Because if you're too much in your head, exercising, rehearsing all of these made up dangers, then when the danger actually comes, you're not going to be present enough to be able to handle the situation. And up until, or if that danger does come, you're exhausting your body by putting made up stress on the body with your thoughts. Because all this is doing is hurting her and probably her health. Because she's putting stress on her body. This is stuff she's thinking, but everything you think, your body reacts to. If you think a made up situation, your body reacts to it. And I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. Have you ever sat there and imagined, I do this a lot. I will sat there and imagine something really, really funny and it will make me laugh out loud. The body reacts, even though I know it's not real. My body finds it funny. The same way I've had paranoid thoughts. Walking home alone at night, you see someone in the distance, what if they just attack me? Of course you're going to have these random thoughts pop in sometimes. But you have to notice that your body has an immediate reaction. When those thoughts come, your body immediately responds. So what good is this doing? When you have the worldview that half of your species, whether it be men or women, you have a worldview that the other is bad, you're only hurting yourself because your body is going to respond to those thoughts. And if it's negative thoughts, whether it be about yourself or anyone else, the body is going to respond to that negativity. If you're imagining that every man is dangerous, your body's always going to be tense because you're always going to be in defense, ready to fight, because your body doesn't know the difference between thoughts, delusions, fantasy, and real life. Your mind does, so you can say, I know the difference, but your body doesn't. So I'm sorry, girl, but you're only hurting yourself.
The kitchen was spotless. His shoes were lined up neatly by the door. Trash had been taken out. Weird. I told myself
Weird. But if he hadn't done it, animal.
it was all an act. That's what predators did. They played nice until they saw an opening. A few days later, I had my first confirmation I heard metallic rattling right by my door one night. My chest started pounding. I grabbed my lamp, ready to swing, thinking this is it. He's trying to break in. I yanked the door open, ready to scream, and saw Ethan crouched down with a screwdriver. "What the hell are you doing?" I snapped. He looked up, a little startled. "Oh, the hinge on your door squeaks. I was just tightening it." I froze, lamp in hand, face burning. He was literally fixing my door. Still, I couldn't admit I'd overreacted. "Don't sneak around my door like that," I said, trying to sound firm. "Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to freak you out," he said simply, stood up and walked away. No snark, no smirk, just fixed it and moved on. That was almost worse than if he'd made some comment, because in my head, men were supposed to fight back, push boundaries, test limits. Instead, he just...
What an awful mother. Imagine raising a child to live in fear. It's sad. It's a sad existence. I almost feel for her. I feel for the guy being ignored. I mean, that's a given, but I almost feel for her. Imagine living a life in fear like that and being conditioned to create your own fear.
Respected mine. By the end of the first week, my brain was tangled. I thought I'd be dodging dirty laundry piles, wiping up after his messes, or swatting away creepy remarks. Instead, Ethan was basically invisible.
There it is. There it is.
He went to class, came home, cooked quietly, cleaned up, and disappeared into his room. And that annoyed me. Because if he wasn't doing the stereotypical guy stuff I expected, where was my proof? Where was the evidence that I was right about men being terrible to live with? I kept telling myself it was only a matter of time. The mask always slips eventually. It had to. By the start of the second week, I had a whole list of things Ethan had done wrong. Except if I actually looked at it, none of them were really wrong. They were just male. Like one afternoon, I came home from campus and heard the dryer running. I opened it and saw his clothes still inside. Jeans, t-shirts, some gym stuff. My first thought, of course, he expects me to move it for him. I rolled my eyes, muttering to myself about male entitlement, and went back to my room. But the next day, when I forgot my laundry in the dryer for almost 2 hours, I came out to find it folded neatly in a basket outside my door. I just stood there staring at it. He didn't say a word about it. No note, no, you're welcome, nothing. Just did it and went on with his day. It made me irrationally angry because
Why? Because this guy is better than you? Because it's a reflection of how awful of a human being you are?
couldn't figure out his angle. Was he trying to score nice guy points? Was it passive-aggressive? Who does something like that with no commentary?
It's just a reflection of being a woman, isn't it? She expects that if she was to do something like that, she is owed gratitude, she is owed thanks, she's owed a commendation. Well done for being a good person. Like, she expects that, so that's why she's projecting onto him that he expects it. But the truth is that men are so used to not getting a thanks for anything that they just do. They literally just do, and no one thanks them.
That week, we ended up in the kitchen at the same time for the first time. I was making pasta. He was chopping vegetables. It was awkward, the kind of silence where you can hear every clink of the knife against the board. Then he asked, "Hey, what time do you usually cook? I can try to work around it so we're not tripping over each other." I froze. In my head, that question sounded controlling, like he was scheduling me. I gave him this tight smile. "You don't have to work around me. I can handle sharing a kitchen." He blinked. "Okay, I just didn't want to bother you." Then he turned back to his cutting board like nothing happened. No defensiveness, no snark, just genuine neutrality. And somehow, that irritated me even more. The next day, he left a note on the fridge. "Out of eggs. I'll grab some later. Let me know if you need anything." I stared at it for a full minute, trying to decide if that was a subtle way of reminding me to contribute, or if he was just being decent. I couldn't tell anymore. That night, around 11 p.m., I heard movement in the hallway again. My stomach tightened automatically. Not this again. I peeked through the crack of my door and saw him standing on a stool, changing the smoke alarm batteries. When he noticed me, he startled. "Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to wake you." I muttered something about it being fine and shut my door quickly, but my face was hot again. Why did he keep doing that? Fixing things, quietly, like some sitcom dad. It was making it really hard to hate him. The next morning, I called my mom while walking to class. She immediately went into protective mode. "Sweetie, I don't like this," she said. "Men act polite until they don't." That's how...
So I spoke about this in a video recently. It's such a shame. You know, why is it so hard for her to say, "Isn't that lovely? Oh, darling, I'm so pleased that you're with someone who's helpful. I'm so happy that this Ethan is making it easier for you. I'm so happy you're having a nice experience." Like, what is this negativity? It's so toxic. It's so toxic. It's horrible. Like I said earlier, I almost feel for this girl.
They get you to drop your guard. "I know," I said, automatically, but it sounded weaker this time, like even I didn't believe it. Then later that day, my best friend from undergrad, Jess, FaceTimed me while I was cooking. I must have glanced toward the kitchen door because she squinted. "Wait, is that your roommate?" she whispered. "Yeah. He's making dinner or whatever." She leaned closer to the camera. "Girl, totally pretending. They all do that. It's like manipulation foreplay." Be careful, I laughed it off, but it didn't sit right.
He's not even thinking about you. He's literally not even thinking about you.
He wasn't even listening to us. He had headphones in, humming quietly while stirring something in a pan. It didn't look manipulative. It looked boring, normal. Later that night, I found myself replaying those tiny moments in my head. The laundry, the fridge note, the way he never raised his voice. He hadn't even looked at me longer than a few seconds. And that unsettled me for reasons I couldn't explain.
'Cause you want him to.
I caught myself wondering what his story was. What kind of guy just lives that neatly, that quietly? Was he hiding something? Or was this actually who he was? I didn't like that thought, because if it was, then maybe the problem wasn't him. Maybe it was the way I was seeing him.
The eyes have begun to awaken from their sleep.
And that was not a thought I was ready to deal with yet. I hadn't gone out with classmates in weeks, but by the third Friday of the semester, everyone was blowing up the group chat about getting drinks after seminar. I didn't want to be the only one missing, so I went. We ended up at a little place near campus that smelled like fryer oil and cheap perfume. The long table was packed with grad students, half my cohort, all of us still buzzing from finishing midterms. I sat between two of my usual friends, Maya and Erin, who both had the kind of energy that fills a room.
Loud and obnoxious, okay.
The first round of drinks came, and with it, the gossip. Someone complained about her roommate leaving moldy dishes, another about a boyfriend who forgot her birthday. The laughter turned sharp. Maya nudged me. "You've got a guy roommate, right? How's that going? He started peeing on the seat yet?" I forced a smile. "Actually, no. He's fine," Erin snorted. "Fine? You sound surprised?" I shrugged. I expected worse. Honestly, he's quiet, clean, keeps to himself. Across the table, Sam, one of the guys in our program, looked up from his drink. He had that dry, observant expression that always made people nervous. "Wait," he said, "why does everyone act like a guy being decent is some kind of miracle?" The table went still for half a second. Maya laughed awkwardly. "Because Sam, most of you aren't." Sam smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's a nice blanket statement." He turned to me. "Do you actually believe that? That men are automatically a problem until proven otherwise?" I hesitated. My instinct was to say yes, the way I always had. But Ethan's face flickered in my head, folding my laundry, fixing that stupid squeaky hinge, quietly cooking while I tried to avoid him. "I just go by patterns," I said finally. "Experience. Patterns can come from who you choose to notice," Sam said. He wasn't being mean. His tone was even, like he was asking me to think instead of argue. "You ever wonder if expecting the worst just makes you see the worst?"
Yeah.
Erin rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we..."
It's a perpetual victim complex. And she's inherited that from her mother.
"We go. Not all men, right?" He shrugged. "No, not all anyone. I'm just saying, maybe it's unfair to act like we're all suspects in the same crime." The air around the table felt tight. Everyone went back to their fries, pretending not to listen. I took a sip of my drink, heart thumping. "I don't think you get it," I said quietly. "You don't know what it's like to walk home at night and wonder if you're safe." "I don't."
He does, though. Like, I hate this argument that men just get to walk around like they're totally safe. Men are more likely to be attacked by men than women. It's more likely a guy is going to get into a physical conflict with another guy than it is a woman with a guy. Yes, guys attack women. We know this. There are bad guys out there. And if a guy attacks a woman, it's far more fatal than if a guy attacks a guy. But you think that as a dude, like, especially if you're walking around with a woman, like, you're not in fear of, if someone attacks right now, I'm the one who's got to die. Like, it's just ignorance.
He said, nodding. You're right. But I do know what it's like to have people assume the worst.
I think he was good, though, for answering that way. Because I can see how what I just said would make a woman feel like that doesn't matter. Because, we have that too. I think he chose the right response. He's started with empathy and understanding to get her to listen. Whereas if he'd gone straight into what I just went into, then maybe she would just shut her ears up. So, strategic. I like it.
Just about you before you open your mouth. That landed harder than I expected. He didn't push further, just leaned back and changed the subject to the new campus cafe. The conversation loosened up again, but I barely heard it. When I left later, the air outside was cold enough to sting. I walked home, replaying the exchange over and over. Sam hadn't raised his voice, hadn't tried to embarrass me. He'd just asked a question I didn't know how to answer without contradicting myself. When I reached the apartment, the hallway light was off. I unlocked the door as quietly as I could. The place smelled like garlic and butter. On the stove sat a covered pan with a sticky note. Made too much pasta. Help yourself if you're hungry. I stood there for a long time, holding that note between my fingers. He didn't owe me that. He didn't even know I'd skipped dinner. I sat at the counter, eating a few bites straight from the pan, feeling something I hadn't felt around a man in a long time. Unguarded. Sam's voice echoed in my head. Maybe it's unfair to act like we're all suspects in the same crime. I wanted to argue with it. I really did. But I couldn't find the words. Then something happened that really made me question everything I believed my whole life. The strange thing was, in the days leading up to it, things had almost started to feel normal. Not comfortable. Just less tense. Ethan and I had fallen into some kind of quiet rhythm. He cooked. I cleaned. We kept to ourselves. I wasn't relaxed exactly, but I wasn't watching my back every second either. Still, something in me stayed alert. That low hum of suspicion.
I mean, a certain low hum of suspicion is all right when you're getting to know someone, but it's like, why are you thinking like that? You're getting to know someone, you've still got to be fairly cautious around any new person that you meet, but certainly not having that presumption of the worst is going to make that suspicion go away quicker.
I'd catch myself thinking, don't forget he's still a man. Just because he hasn't done anything doesn't mean he won't. Then I got the call. It was a Thursday night. I was sitting at the kitchen table, hunched over my laptop, editing citations. My phone buzzed. Aunt Rachel, she never called. I answered immediately. Her voice was shaky. Sweetheart, your mum's been in an accident. My stomach dropped. She's okay, stable, but they're taking her to county hospital. Might need surgery. They said if you can get there tonight, you should. My mom had been having weird spells for weeks. Dizziness, fatigue. She kept brushing it off, saying she was just tired. Now this. I started shaking. I grabbed my bag, keys, and phone and started calling Maya, voicemail, Erin, nothing, Jess, straight to missed call. They'd all told me, call me anytime, I'll always pick up. I believed them. When I got to the third unanswered call, I started crying. Quiet at first, then heavier. The kind that chokes in your throat and doesn't feel real. That's when Ethan's door opened. He stepped out, earbuds around his neck, brows drawn. Hey, what happened? I tried to wipe my face, but I was shaking. My mom. Car accident. She's in the hospital, county. They said she might need surgery. I don't know how to get there. He looked at his phone, then back at me. That's like 2.5 hours. I nodded, panicked. Yeah, I'm trying to find a bus or something. I'll drive you, he said, grabbing his jacket. What? No, you don't have to do that. I know. Come on, let's go.
It's just the right thing to do.
He didn't wait for debate, he just moved. We were on the road in under 10 minutes, the dashboard lit up dim blue and the wipers working against a fine drizzle. I sat stiffly, hands clenched in my lap. My head was still spinning. About 20 minutes in, I broke the silence. "Why are you being so nice?" He didn't take his eyes off the road. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what's your deal? What's the angle here?" He glanced over, then back. "No angle. You needed help. That's not how people usually work." He gave a small laugh, but it wasn't sarcastic. "Maybe not the people you're used to." I hesitated. "Seriously, though? Why? Why just drop everything and drive me across the state?" He let that hang in the air a second before replying. "You live in my space. We're not strangers. If something bad happened to you and I did nothing, I'd feel like garbage. That's it. No secret plan, no payoff. Just basic human decency. I didn't know what to say." The way he said it, not defensive, not dramatic, it landed harder than any argument. At the hospital, everything felt too bright and sterile. Nurses ushered me through. My mum was groggy but alert. Broken arm, mild concussion, stitches. When she saw me, her eyes welled up. "You came," she whispered. "Of course I came," I said, holding her hand. "How are you feeling?" She looked past me, noticing Ethan lingering by the door. "Is that the young man who drove you?" I nodded. She blinked, surprised. "That was very kind of him." "That's rare then to Ethan?" "Thank you, sweetheart. You didn't have to do that." He gave a small nod. "Glad she got here safe." After that, he quietly handled everything. Parking, vending machine coffee, tracking down forms I didn't know I needed. He never hovered. He just stayed nearby, like this calm backup generator that kept everything running while I was short-circuiting. Around 2 a.m., when my mom finally fell asleep, I sat in the waiting area, completely drained. He was there too, stretched out in a chair, jacket folded under his head. My phone buzzed. Maya. "OMG, I'm so sorry. I just saw your call. Are you okay?" Aaron. "Hey, missed your call earlier. Everything all right?" I stared at the screen. They'd said always, but when I needed them, they weren't there. Ethan, the guy I'd once labeled a threat, was the one who dropped everything. No delay, no excuses. "I still can't believe you did all this," I said quietly. "I still can't believe you're surprised," he said back. I looked over at him, not afraid, not suspicious, just quiet and grateful. No one had ever shown up for me like that. A week after the hospital trip, life slipped back into something that almost felt normal. My mom was recovering fine, Ethan was back to his quiet routines, and the apartment felt steady again. Then the email came. Subject: rooming adjustment. Per your previous request for a female roommate, we've arranged for your current roommate to be reassigned to Block C next week. I just stared at it. I'd forgotten I'd even filed that complaint the first week, back when I still slept with a chair wedged under the doorknob. When I looked up, Ethan was standing in the doorway, phone in hand. "They just told me about the move," he said. "Guess it's because you weren't comfortable?" His voice was neutral, not hurt, but it still made my stomach twist. "I'm sorry if I made it weird." I opened my mouth, closed it again. "No, you didn't." "It's fine. Maybe it's better this way. Safer for both of us." He gave a small nod. "Yeah." Probably then, he smiled, polite, easy, and went back to his room. For the next few days, he packed little by little, boxes stacked by the door, the hum of tape ripping. I kept pretending it was nothing. When he cooked, I waited until he was done. When he was in the living room, I stayed in my room. It felt like rewinding to the first week, except this time the silence hurt. The morning he left, I found him tightening the strap on one of his boxes. "Need help?" I asked. He shook his head. "Got it." "Elevator's open if you want to hold the door?" I did. We rode down together in silence. At the curb, he turned. "Take care, okay?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a small laugh. "Guess it'll be nice not tripping over each other." "Guess so." He smiled again, the same quiet one from day one. Then he lifted the box, and he was gone. The apartment felt wrong the moment the door shut. Too big. Too still. His shoes weren't by the door anymore. His mug wasn't on the counter. I stood in the bathroom and saw the note I'd taped up weeks ago. Please respect shared spaces. For some reason, it looked childish now. I peeled it off, crumpled it, and tossed it in the trash. Back in the kitchen, I opened my phone and typed, "Me. Thanks again. For everything." A few minutes later, the screen lit up. Ethan. Anytime. Good luck this semester. That was it. Simple. I set the phone down and told myself it didn't matter. He'd just been a roommate, and housing had finally done what I'd asked for. It was supposed to feel like relief. But the place was too quiet. His side of the counter looked wrong, the shelf too bare. I told myself it was fine, safer this way. At least, that's what I kept trying to believe.
I don't know why, because we've read such horrific 4chan diaries, ones with topics that are far heavier and deeper, but something about that one made me really emotional. Something about the brightness of humanity in the middle of the story. Things seemed really warm at one point, despite obviously what was going on with her mother. Her worldview was brightening, and there's something so sad about the acceptance of it disappearing that I guess is just reflective of our society right now, which is what's making me sad. I don't like that. Now, these guys had a platonic relationship, I get that. So when I say this next statement, obviously take it with a pinch of salt, but the romance of life has gone. I don't expect these two to become a couple or even form a friendship, but they'd found something that started to work. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why would she just accept for it to be taken away? Why would she not say more? Explain the situation. Be truthful. Hey, at first, yeah, I didn't know you. I was a bit anxious, but I've actually really enjoyed what we've created in this space. And I'd forgot about the email and now it's come through. But I actually like sharing this space with you if you'd like to stay. There's something really sad about that. I feel like this is really reflective of Gen Z as well. And Gen Z and younger. I feel like we're losing our humanity. We're losing the romance of life and the warmth of being around each other and forming relationships. Any kind of relationship, roommate, friend, colleague. It's like everything's become so robotic, and I don't know how we fix that. Genuinely, I think the best thing that could happen to all of us right now is for everyone's phones to just out of existence. Social media to fail, for texting to fail. You can only make calls. I don't know. I feel like that would be a start. That's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments section below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with all of my content. If you have a video for me to react to, then please do send it over via my email address at christinegracesmith@outlook.com. And if you'd like to consider donating to the channel, you can do that by clicking the link in the description at buymeacoffee.com or by becoming a member right here on YouTube. I keep coming across these heavier videos these days, and I'm grateful for them because it's nice to feel. And there was a part of that story that I really enjoyed, but there's something about it that's left me feeling empty, which I imagine was the point of it, as it's reflective of what she felt. But yeah, I look forward to reading what you think in the comments section below. And on that note, I will see you very soon in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.